Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah. I'm a non-diet intuitive eating dietitian, and today I am answering all of your burning intuitive eating questions. I shared on my Instagram as well as on my YouTube channel that I was planning on making this video, and I asked you guys to ask me all the questions that you have about intuitive eating. And you guys came through. I've got lots of great questions I'm going to answer today. A few of these are going to require a much longer dedicated video, so I'll mention those throughout. As intuitive eating becomes more popular and more well known, unfortunately, that gives diet culture the opportunity to kind of hijack it. And that means there are a ton of misconceptions about intuitive eating out there. So there's a few things I want to cover today in that arena, but then of course, your questions gave me lots of other ideas for future videos. So if you have a question I didn't answer today, be sure to check out my whole playlist I have on YouTube, because intuitive eating is kind of my thing and I've got lots of videos and more videos to come. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. I thought a really good place to start would be with this question, which reads, what is the simplest thing to do to start the intuitive eating journey? A great question. I think it's first important for me to note that intuitive eating looks different for every single person, which is why I believe that intuitive eating can work for everybody, because there aren't like this rigid set of rules that you have to follow. But that also means that what feels simple for one person may not feel so simple for another. Maybe a step that feels like it's no problem for you causes a ton of stress and anxiety for someone else. For example, maybe for you, getting rid of the scale and stopping weighing yourself could be a really simple place to start. It doesn't feel too tough for you, maybe. But for someone else who maybe has been weighing themselves for, months, years, decades, the thought of taking that leap of faith to just trust their body to weigh what it wants to weigh could be so scary to someone who has been trying to control their weight for so long. So all that to say that the simplest step is going to look different for everybody, but I think for a lot of people, a really good first place to start is with the first principle of intuitive eating, which is to reject the diet mentality. Basically, this step involves making a commitment to yourself to never go on a diet again. Now, this step does also require working through that desire to intentionally lose weight. Intuitive eating requires a weight-neutral approach, and this can feel really difficult if you have been trying to intentionally lose weight for quite some time. This step may also mean getting rid of all of the dieter's tools. This includes things like MyFitnessPal or other calorie counting or diet apps. The scale would also be one to get rid of as you feel ready. Or maybe diet books and magazines and things that have a list of rules for you to follow. It could also involve doing a social media detox of sorts, where you unfollow any accounts that promote dieting and intentional weight loss. Perhaps one of these could be a simple and tangible place to start. You could delete the app, you could put away the scale or smash it with a hammer if you feel ready to do so. Take that power back, feels really good. Unfollow accounts that aren't serving you or helping your mental health or relationship with food. Whatever tools you identify that have not been helping you on your intuitive eating journey, getting rid of those could be a really great place to start with rejecting the diet mentality. Okay, next question that I got, another really great one, was how do you know if you're eating intuitively or not? Once again, I know you're not going to like this answer, but intuitive eating looks different for everybody. However, there are a few telltale signs that your food choices and eating habits are still rooted in diet culture. The first one is that you are making your food choices with the intention of weight loss. So rather than learning how to navigate your internal wisdom to tell you when to eat, how much to eat, what to eat, you are relying on what you think that food is going to do to the number on the scale, which is again why I think a really good first step is to get rid of the scale. When all we're thinking about when we eat is how that food is going to impact our weight, we can't hear any of the other signals from our body telling us, was that enough to eat, or do I need to go eat more? Was that actually satisfying for me, or do I need something sweet, something salty to go with it? All we're thinking about is how many calories were in it or how many grams of protein. And while those things do matter, food is so much more than just calories or macronutrients. Along those same lines, another way to know that you are not fully eating intuitively is that you are restricting food of any kind. Now, this is not the same thing as avoiding foods that you have an allergy or an intolerance to, of course, or avoiding foods that you simply don't like. If you're watching this and you have celiac disease and you're avoiding gluten, that does not automatically mean that you are avoiding gluten because you are in the diet mentality. But if you are avoiding gluten because you think there's something wrong with gluten and it's going to be unhealthy for you in some way, without any evidence of that actually being true for your unique body, that could be a sign there is still a food rule there that needs to be broken. Intuitive eating does not rely on any rules to tell you when, what, or how much to eat. Rather, intuitive eating creates this space for curiosity so you can start to learn, like, what foods do I actually like? What foods feel good when I eat them? What combinations of foods do I enjoy? A nutrition facts label or MyFitnessPal or some diet book can never tell you what is going to make your body feel the best. Only you hold that knowledge of what your body really prefers and enjoys. Another sign that you're not truly eating intuitively is that you're only choosing healthy foods. The diet culture version of intuitive eating says that you can acknowledge that you want to eat those unhealthy foods, but you shouldn't actually eat them. Unless, of course, it's your cheat day, which is another sign that you are still in the diet mentality. Intuitive eating actually does involve eating foods that aren't the most nutritious things in the world. It involves eating cake and broccoli and knowing they are different, but knowing they can both be part of your life. And if you are screaming at your phone right now saying, Hannah, if I allowed myself to eat cake, I would only eat cake, I challenge you to get curious about that and ask yourself if that is actually true. It absolutely could be the case at first when you finally start to make peace with that food. If cake has been off limits forever, of course, when you finally get access to it, you are going to eat it in quantities that maybe are a little bit uncomfortable. But it's not going to feel good to eat cake all the time. And eventually you'll likely grow tired of it for a little bit. Once those rules are out of the way, telling you what you can and can't eat, you actually get to learn what is going to feel good. All right, my last part to this question, asking how do we know if we are actually eating intuitively or not? If you are turning intuitive eating into the hunger and fullness diet, you probably aren't truly eating intuitively. Hunger and fullness, of course, are a very big piece of eating intuitively, and understanding these cues is key. But there are going to be plenty of times that you can't eat exactly when you feel hungry, or times that you do eat past fullness. And despite what diet culture will tell you, this is absolutely fine, and there should never be any shame for doing either of those situations. There are 10 principles in the intuitive eating framework, and hunger and fullness only have to do with 2 of them. It is much more complex than just eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. I think that's a really good segue into our next question. Next question is, what are some tips to stop fasting? I feel the need to wait 4+ hours after I wake and work out to eat. To the person who asked this question, and to anyone who might relate to this question, I first recommend trying to unpack where you learned this from. Why is it that you feel this need to fast in the mornings? This was likely a learned behavior from somewhere. Next, ask yourself if following this food rule has served you in any way. How does it physically and mentally make you feel to wait that long to eat? Have there been any negative consequences like low blood sugars or binge eating tendencies later in the day? I'm guessing the reason you are following this food rule is because at some point along the way you learned that fasting is healthy for you. Well, I am here to tell you the benefits of eating consistently rather than waiting to eat and ignoring your body's hunger cues. Let's just go through this list. More energy, better focus, less binge eating episodes, weight stabilization, improved relationship with food, better mood, strong bones and muscles, the list goes on. There are so many reasons why eating consistently is going to benefit you. As you're trying to break this food rule, start with something small in the morning if the thought of a really big breakfast kind of makes you nervous. Ease into it and take your time letting your body know that you're gonna start eating in the mornings again. Okay, our next question is pretty niche, but I actually do get this question a lot, so I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this. Once my brain becomes fixated on something, I lose all sense of control and binge. It could be a food dish or it could be a TV show. I have even spent 2 weeks obsessed with designing the perfect van for van life. I do take meds and therapy, which does help, but not perfectly. How do you intuitively eat when you have ADHD impulse compulsion issues? Such a good question. I, again, get questions about ADHD and intuitive eating a lot. So I'm not gonna be able to cover all this in this video, and I will plan to make a full video on the topic. I know I've said it a few times already, but intuitive eating does look different for every single person, and people with neurodivergent brains are likely going to approach it differently than those with neurotypical brains. As for the impulsivity, I do wonder if this is leading to binge eating. It kind of sounds like that's where the question was going. Without knowing more about the situation, I generally recommend making sure you're eating enough throughout the day, because a hungry brain is going to be a very fixated brain, and it's going to be really tough to stop eating when you feel satisfied. It also might help to try and add a lot of variety while still allowing yourself to have those hyperfixation meals, so to speak. So maybe instead of trying to stop yourself from really getting into a certain food, maybe kind of embrace it. If you're really enjoying, let's say, Crunchwrap Supremes from Taco Bell, maybe instead of trying to cut those out because we only know it's gonna make things worse, I say allow yourself to enjoy those and then ensure that you are eating other foods throughout the day. If it helps, try to make them very simple, easy to put together meals. All right, this next question's kind of in a similar theme. Question reads, what if your body only wants low nutrient dense, high calorie foods all the time, even when you allow yourself to eat them? It sounds like the person who asked this question knows that intuitive eating is about allowing yourself to physically eat low nutrient dense foods as well as high nutrient dense foods as well. And it's totally true. Like I've already said, when you do start to make peace with food, your body will kind of tell you that it's pretty sick of eating pizza and cake and it actually does want to eat a salad or a stir fry with tons of veggies or whatever. We just naturally kind of find that balance. But this person is saying they have given themselves physical permission to eat these foods, but they are still struggling with that balance piece. They are still just really wanting to eat those low nutrient dense foods, which we know is not a bad thing, but it may not feel very good to choose those foods all the time. So whenever someone asks me this question of, okay, I have allowed myself to eat all the foods, I'm actually eating the cake, but like, I actually just want to eat cake. What's going on? I always challenge them to ask themselves if they have actually given themselves that mental or that emotional permission to eat those foods. Because just physically eating those foods is only going to get you part of the way there. If you are eating the cake, but you feel guilty the entire time, or you're thinking about how you're gonna go burn it off later, that is not true peace with food. There are still some food rules there that need to be broken. So to keep working on this, I challenge you to continue to unpacking your thoughts that kind of pop up when you're eating these lower nutrient dense foods that may have previously been off limits. Alrighty, next question is, how full is too full? I wanna understand my fullness in intuitive eating. Great question. Like I said, intuitive eating does go beyond hunger and fullness, but navigating those are a key part. And like I've also mentioned, this may be surprising to many of you, but it's okay to eat past fullness. Now, it would not feel good to eat past fullness every single time you ate. So let's discuss some tips to better understand your fullness. First, let's go through a list of some fullness cues that your body could be sending you, because it does go beyond just the physical feeling of fullness. Maybe you are no longer paying as much attention to the food. Maybe you're even kind of losing interest in the meal. It's no longer as appetizing. Maybe the food no longer tastes as good. The first few bites of food always taste amazing as a way to kind of get your body to keep eating and get the energy that it needs. And then as your body does get the energy it needs, the taste kind of becomes less satisfying, and that could be a sign that your body is reaching its preferred fullness level. Physical fullness and distension in your stomach absolutely are a fullness cue. You know, you physically are feeling full. And lastly here, maybe you just feel like you have more energy, you're not feeling sluggish anymore. And or maybe you're now relaxed and in a pleasant mood. This one tends to apply to me because I get pretty cranky when I'm hungry. And so when I finally am feeling full and satisfied, I feel a lot more relaxed and more kind. I also want to discuss fullness versus satisfaction because they actually aren't the same thing. Fullness relates to the volume in your stomach, whereas satisfaction means that the mind and the body have what they need. It kind of goes back to the last question where I said, even though we are physically filling up with certain foods, if we don't feel that actual mental satisfaction from the food, we're gonna find ways to kind of keep eating stuff. That could be like where the munchies come in, for example. I mean, you can totally fill up on raw vegetables and actually fill the volume of your stomach, but that likely won't keep you satisfied for very long. Another example, if you are craving a brownie would be what satisfies you, but you choose to eat an apple instead because it's healthier, that craving will likely still be there and just continue to get stronger and stronger. So once again, the bottom line here is that both mental and physical fullness and satisfaction work together, and they are the key to sustained fullness between meals. The next question is kind of a part 2 to the first question. This person asked, my second question would be, how do we gain weight and how intuitive eating helps us to stay at a healthy weight? It's always in the back of my mind wondering how weight gain happens apart from binging and restriction, dieting, and emotional eating. My guess is consistently eating past fullness, but then that is back to my first question, where in the spectrum of fullness should we even be? What is going to happen to our weight with intuitive eating might be the number one question that I receive. To answer this question, I recommend checking out this video on the set point weight theory. Essentially, what's likely going to happen is if you were below your body's set point weight or happy weight before you started intuitive eating, weight gain will likely happen as you start feeding what your body actually needs. And at first, it might feel like you are eating past fullness, especially if you have been chronically not eating enough for so long. It could absolutely be the case that you haven't really had a good grasp on what true fullness feels like, and maybe you were stopping too soon. Your meals were too small, you were following a calorie goal perhaps that was far too low for what your body needs, and you were sort of trying to trick your body that you were full and satisfied even though you weren't. And as you start feeding yourself what your body actually wants and needs and reaching a true fullness and satisfaction, that could be where weight gain does occur for some with intuitive eating. Now, I gotta note here that weight gain is not always inherently an unhealthy thing. Our weight and our health are not as directly linked as diet culture may have led you to believe. So if you gain weight by making peace with food and truly eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're truly full, your body likely needed to gain that weight, and that is your happiest, healthiest weight for you. All right, next question is for my menstruating viewers. This person says, I can successfully intuitively eat part of the month. I have PMDD, so when I'm in my luteal phase, my eating is no longer intuitive but compulsive. I'm literally eating until my belly hurts, even though I don't want to be. Once my period starts, I flip a switch and I'm completely back to normal appetite. Any hints on how to deal with this would be great, as it's now adversely impacting my blood sugar levels. I have type 2 diabetes. To start, I want to say that one thing that separates intuitive eating from dieting is that intuitive eating looks different from day to day. This is especially the case for menstruating folks. Our hormones are consistently shifting through the phases of our cycle, and so our appetite and cravings kind of shift along with them. And these hormone shifts can cause even more drastic cravings and appetite changes when you have a condition like PMDD. So to this person who asked the question, I challenge you to shift your mindset from doing intuitive eating right or wrong, because you truly can't do it wrong. It is just a series of learning opportunities. And like I've said, intuitive eating is supposed to make you feel good. So if you are finding yourself eating compulsively and it's not feeling good, I challenge you to ask yourself why that is. Are you eating enough throughout the day, or are you skipping meals and that's leading to binging? Maybe you do feel like you are eating enough, but I should point out that our calorie needs actually change through the different phases of our cycle. So if your body is telling you that it needs more food during this particular phase, it could absolutely be physiologically the case. It could partially be why your body is sending you such strong signals to eat more. Another outcome of these hormone shifts during the different phases of our menstrual cycle is changes in our emotions. I know that anyone who has a period can relate to that. So maybe ask yourself if you are eating emotionally. And if that's the case, maybe ask yourself too if your emotional needs are being met. Okay, our last question today is for the pregnant folks, or for those who maybe plan to become pregnant while they're on this intuitive eating journey. Question reads, any tips for intuitive eating while pregnant? I'm struggling. I again just want to point out that intuitive eating is going to look different from day to day, as well as through the different seasons of life that you're going through. Your body's physical and emotional needs are going to be much different during pregnancy than they are when you're not pregnant. The most important nutrition advice, generally speaking, when you are pregnant is to make sure you're eating enough calories and nutrients to support you and the baby you are growing inside of you. If you have hunger signals, rely on these. These hunger cues may increase during certain parts of pregnancy, so don't question it. It makes sense that you'd be feeling hungrier because your body is working harder than usual. But there are some challenges that can make intuitive eating during pregnancy feel difficult. The first one is poor appetite or morning sickness or both. There may be times throughout pregnancy that the thought of eating is just an absolute turnoff. When you can't rely on your body to tell you when to eat, a general eating structure could be helpful. Try to eat every few hours if you can, and be sure to include easy to digest foods. By eating consistently, you might actually help with some of that nausea. Try to focus on simple foods that don't have a lot of strong odors or tastes. The bottom line with poor appetite or nausea and vomiting is that you might have to use your brain hunger knowledge instead of your body hunger knowledge. Your body hunger knowledge, aka your hunger and fullness cues, may not really be working super well, but your brain knows that you still have to be eating in order to fuel yourself and also the baby you're growing too. On the other side of the spectrum, cravings are also commonly known to accompany pregnancy. Cravings are a pretty common pregnancy stereotype, and your hormone changes can absolutely cause certain foods to become more appealing. But the whole pregnancy craving narrative really shines light on the fact that we feel like we need a reason to honor our cravings. It's okay to honor your cravings, even if you're not pregnant. And learning how to navigate cravings when you're not pregnant will make it even easier to do so when you are. But generally speaking, if you are struggling with cravings while pregnant, I encourage you just to honor those cravings. Once again, make sure you are trying to eat consistently, eat enough, eat a variety of foods. That will help some of the emotional eating maybe die down. But cravings are normal, they're part of life, and definitely part of pregnancy too. All right, guys, that is all the questions for today's intuitive eating Q&A. If you guys like this format, let me know in the comments below, and we could always do more of these in the future. And if you want a place to ask all the questions that you have along the way of your intuitive eating journey, you would really enjoy the Nutrition Reboot membership. This is my private intuitive eating membership where I host live trainings, exclusive podcasts just for members. I post non-diety recipes every single week. And the best part is the private Facebook community where you can ask questions like this at any time. If you want to learn more about becoming a member, I will leave a link below for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like it if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe so you always know when I'm posting new intuitive eating videos. All right, I will see you next time. Bye. Looking for more support on your intuitive eating journey? Be sure to join the Nutrition Reboot membership for more structure, guidance, and support for a fail-proof journey of making peace with food. I can't wait to see you inside and be your intuitive eating dietitian.